Discover the miraculous wisdom of Ecclesiastes. 7 incredible life transformations revealed by God. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, wisdom flowed like the waters of the great Euphrates. Solomon, the son of David, reigned over Jerusalem, his crown gleaming under the sunlight. The majestic halls of his palace echoed with the whispers of nobles and the soft rustle of silk drapery, a fitting backdrop for a king renowned for his unparalleled wealth and sagacity. Yet, as he stood poised at the grand balcony of his opulent abode, peering over the vibrant city nestled beneath, a sense of futility began to gnaw at his heart. What has a man gained from all his labor at which he toils under the sun? He pondered, his voice barely above a whisper, yet reverberating through the stillness around him. The multitude below bustled like a swarm of bees, pouring sweat into fields and craft, and yet what remained? He could see the temples adorned with gold, the bustling markets, and the laughter that danced through the air. But in his soul, a quiet unrest welled up, prompting him to seek clarity through prayer. With every sunset, Solomon retreated to the tranquil gardens of his palace. Long walks taken beneath the shade of ancient olive trees, a sanctuary away from the chaos. The fragrance of blooming flowers wafted through the air, and under the canvas of twinkling stars, profound realizations unfurled in his heart. Life without God is meaningless, he wrote, his quill scratching against parchment, capturing the essence of his musings. It was then he stumbled upon a scene that struck him deep. A humble family gathered under a simple thatched roof, sharing bread and wine, laughter spilling like a river. Joy was palpable in their modest dwelling. Joy in simplicity, he penned thoughtfully, recognizing a sacred treasure that transcended wealth. Solomon recalled lavish feasts, yet questioned their worth compared to the warmth found in gratitude for daily blessings. He longed to gather the people to his words, revealing the richness of a heart filled with gratitude. As the seasons shifted, the king felt the weight of time's passage, each moment a reminder of life's fleeting nature. Embrace every season, he advised, understanding that God's timing was perfect in adversity and joy alike. Like the turning of a wheel, he addressed the beauty hidden in every trial. His ink flowed fervently across the scroll as he urged those who read to find solace in faith. For every moment is appointed under heaven. But intrigue turned to confusion when he contemplated the wise and the foolish. Wisdom over folly, he mused, the chasm separating discernment from ignorance painfully evident. He sought not to answer the question, but to illuminate the path toward divine wisdom, imploring those who would listen to cherish the sacred gates opened by a relationship with Yahweh. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Amidst the clamor of life, Solomon's heart sank into deeper despair. Yet within this turmoil, the truth anchored him. Fear God and keep his commandments. Here lay his ultimate discovery. Man's meaning rises not from the toil of his hands, but from his relationship with the Creator. He sensed a stir within, embracing the covenant that bound him to the Most High, the echoes of providence whispering against a backdrop of unrest. And as twilight darkened the horizon behind the temple, he rested his quill and pondered, what is the purpose of all this? The mysteries of life lingered in the air, a profound invitation for all who sought the divine resolution resting just beyond the grasp of understanding. The scrolls lay cradled in his hands, a legacy yet to unravel, leaving readers yearning for the next chapter to reveal the grand tapestry of God's sovereign plan. As the dawn broke over Jerusalem, spreading hues of gold and rose across the sky, Solomon rose with a heavy heart. His spirit wrestled with the weight of the truths that encircled him. Each rising sun reignited the eternal questions within him. The palace walls, despite their beauty, felt confining, as if the opulence surrounding him mocked his inquiries into life's meaning. He gathered the elders, his heart burdened yet yearning. "Come," he summoned them, his voice firm yet laced with vulnerability. "Let us commune in the presence of the Lord." They assembled, their faces reflecting the weight of anticipation. For they understood the king's contemplations often led to revelations of divine wisdom. "Have you observed, dear friends," Solomon began, "the journey of man upon the earth? How he sweats and labors only to be met with the specter of death. How the wise and the foolish both find their time cut short." His words hung in the air, heavy with truth. "What then is our lot? Is it not but a breath of fleeting vanity?" A murmur spread among the elders, yet Solomon pressed on, determined to unveil the heart of his revelations. Ecclesiastes 3 teaches us there is a time for everything, a season for every purpose under heaven. But who can discern the times? The folly of man is to chase after wind. His voice rose, stirring a fire within them as he gestured toward the land filled with laborers toiling with unyielding faith. "A time to be born and a time to die," he continued, his heart ignited with divine purpose. "A time to plant and a time to uproot. Yet how many are aware of the eternal purpose woven through the mundane?" The Ecclesiastes wisdom unfolds like a delicate scroll, that labor without the Lord yields nothing, but labor under his gaze, it transforms the ordinary into divine service. They sat in somber silence, processing the depths of his words. In that stillness, the Spirit began moving among them, igniting hope from despair. One elder, Ahijah, raised his hand, trembling. "But my king," he asked, his voice unsteady, "if all is vanity, why should we embrace the labor of our hands?" Solomon's eyes sparkled with the light of revelation. "To eat and drink and find satisfaction in our toil is a gift from God," he affirmed, quoting directly from his cherished scroll. "For God has made everything beautiful in its time, and has set eternity in the hearts of men. If we walk humbly with our Creator, embracing the rhythms of life, we shall uncover joy amidst the toil." As Solomon spoke, the sun cast an ethereal glow upon them, illuminating faces that had been cloaked in the shadows of doubt. Hope stretched its wings over the gathering as they began to see their lives as part of a grand design, threads woven into God's great tapestry. Each act of faith a brushstroke on the canvas of time. With fervor, Solomon penned these truths, the ink flowing like a river of mercy, longing for the generations to come. Yet even amid this awakening, a looming shadow whispered through the corridors of his heart. Would the people heed these words? As the elders departed, a sense of divine urgency enveloped Solomon. "There remains work to be done," he muttered, reflecting on the myriad of lives entwined in destiny. The weight of his calling pressed upon him. Thus, he sought deeper revelation, calling upon the name of the Lord from his palace, pleading for understanding into the heart of the mystery that surrounded him. "Lord, uncover the purpose of our existence, that we might see beyond our days. What is your plan in the grand design of history?" In the stillness of that sacred moment, the heavens thundered with a promise, echoing softly on the winds of time. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." With renewed conviction, Solomon understood God's sovereign plan unfolds not just for himself but for all who seek his wisdom. What further mysteries lay ahead, entangled within the threads of eternal purpose? The quest for understanding had only just begun. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the courts of the palace, Solomon sought to muster the courage to confront his own heart's tumult. He stood at the threshold of his royal chamber, peering out at the bustling streets of Jerusalem. The cries of merchants hawking their wares mingled with the laughter of children playing in the sun, each echo a reminder of life's fleeting beauty. With resolve, he called upon Bezalel, the chief architect of the temple. "Come forth," he commanded, as the man entered, bowing low in respect. "You are skilled in the crafts that the Lord has bestowed. Let us build a temple not just of stone, but one that reflects his glory." Bezalel's eyes shone with understanding, for he, too, was aware that the heart of the temple must mirror the heart of its people. Yes, my king, a house of worship that not only delights the Lord but also stirs the souls of our brothers and sisters, he responded passionately. As they discussed the blueprints, Solomon's heart weighed heavily with thoughts of legacy. Will our children understand the truths we build upon? Will they see the God of our fathers in the edifice we raise? He pondered aloud, fear leaking into his voice. Bezalel touched his chest solemnly. If we engrave our hearts upon it first, then our children will not only visit but inhabit the legacy we leave behind. Just as they vowed to labor with divine purpose, the air shifted, bringing with it an unexpected visitor. A shrouded figure approached from the edge of the marketplace, drawing curious gazes from the throng. It was the woman known as the Queen of Sheba, renowned for her wisdom and her relentless pursuit of the truth. As she entered the palace, her demeanor was regal, yet her eyes glimmered with the hunger for understanding. "I have heard of your wisdom, Solomon," she proclaimed, her voice echoing within the grand hall. "I have traveled far to witness it myself, to test its measure." "And what have you brought forth?" Solomon asked, intrigued by the challenge she posed, sensing a deeper intention behind her visit. "I come laden with treasures and questions, King." "These gifts are mere tokens," she replied, revealing gold and spices. "But the wisdom I seek is priceless." With this, she posed riddles woven with truths, questions of the earth and heavens, of man's toil and goddess purpose. Solomon listened intently, answering each with profound clarity. His spirit ignited with the realization that the wisdom he had sought in moments of despair was now sought after by others. In the exchange, a compelling truth emerged. The Queen of Sheba herself was seeking answers to the same existential questions that had burdened Solomon's heart. "All that I possess has not satisfied my quest," she confessed with earnestness. "What, then, shall I do with this life that fades as the shadows lengthen?" Solomon gazed into her eyes and remembered the wisdom he had penned. "To fear God and keep his commandments, this is the whole duty of man," he said gently. "For we are but travelers in this world, dust and breath, meant to cherish the seasons he has given us." The depth of their dialogue spun the threads of divine purpose tighter, as they found common ground in their search for meaning. It united the nations across borders, joining the wisdom of Jerusalem with the longing of Sheba. As dusk descended upon Jerusalem and the twinkling stars began to dot the sky, Solomon felt a surge of hope. God's sovereign plan was unfolding through unexpected encounters, revelations placarded through dialogue, and the deeper understanding of his eternal narrative. Thus, he vowed to the Lord, "With all that I am, I shall seek to preserve these revelations for future generations." Yet as he turned to the Queen, the wind whispered a divine secret, a truth not yet unveiled to hearts yearning for wisdom. What greater mysteries awaited his understanding? What was the full measure of God's design that beckoned him forward into tomorrow? The quest was only beginning, and the greatest discovery lay just beyond the horizon, waiting to be unfolded. As the shadows lengthened and night wrapped its cloak around Jerusalem, the voices of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba echoed in the vast palace halls, weaving the fabric of understanding between east and west. The air shimmered with a mix of anticipation and revelation, as if the very walls could sense the divine conversation unfolding within. The Queen pondered Solomon's declarations, for his wisdom was unlike any she had encountered. With a heart poised to receive, she leaned forward, drawn deeper into the pursuit of truth. "You have answered my queries with insight, yet there remains one question that stirs my spirit. How does a man find purpose when the world seems to take joy from him, leaving despair in its wake? What of the days spent in labor, or the riches gathered at the expense of peace?" Solomon felt the weight of her inquiry. With a soul attuned to God, he intently sought the right words, recalling his own experiences, the highs and the valleys he had traversed. "Hear, O Queen, the words of the preacher," he began, his voice steady. "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered." Ecclesiastes 1 verses 2 to 15. The Queen regarded him with intrigue, the echoes of truth resonating within her. Is there no remedy then? Is joy elusive? Are we merely to toil under the sun, never to bathe in the light of fulfillment? With deliberate calm, Solomon replied, God has made everything beautiful in its time. Yet we are called to recognize his hand in our labor and our rest, to enjoy the fruits of our toil as a gift from him. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11. As he spoke, his heart was filled with a fresh revelation. Wisdom was not merely knowledge but the divine ability to perceive the seasons of life. The queen's countenance softened, reflecting curiosity and compassion. But what of the heart's burdens? Can wisdom help bear the weight of sorrow and loss? Solomon paused, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. For everything, there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1 and 4. Each word was weighed with divine authority, igniting a spark of hope within her weary spirit. They spoke long into the night, exchanging thoughts about the cyclical nature of life, love's fleeting moments, and the weight of human experience caught in the grasp of eternity. As the moon bathed the land in silvery light, a profound silence fell, and the walls of the palace bore witness to their communion. The shadows shifted as if carrying the weight of their dialogue, a testimony of lives entwined by the search for truth. Suddenly, a wind stirred outside, carrying with it voices from distant lands, tales of nations yearning for guidance. It dawned upon Solomon in that moment. The wisdom imparted and collected was not only for him or the queen but was a flame destined to ignite a global understanding of the Lord. Surely, he mused aloud, the knowledge given to us is to be shared with those who seek. We must not hoard these truths but let them flow as a river of living water to a thirsty world. The Queen of Sheba's face brightened, and she leaned closer still. Then let us commit our hearts to this mission. Let our dialogue be the beginning of a covenant that stretches beyond our lands. As the night deepened and the stars twinkled in their celestial dance, the promise swelled between them, a commitment not only to share wisdom but to magnify the Lord's glory. Yet, even as hope blossomed, an unseen reality loomed. What trials awaited as they ventured forward, burdened by destiny? What consequences would arise from their unity of purpose? For the earth had yet more mysteries to reveal, and in the hearts of man lay the potential for both great wisdom and profound folly. What was God's ultimate plan for such a gathering of souls? The answer awaited, shrouded in divine mystery, just beyond their grasp. As dawn broke over the hills of Jerusalem, the sun cast a golden hue upon the temple, heralding a new day filled with promise. Solomon awoke with a sense of urgency, his heart still aflame from the fruitful discourse with the Queen of Sheba. He rose from his bed and stepped to the balcony, gazing out upon the city bustling below. For the first time, he felt a compelling weight of responsibility, not merely to govern, but to guide the nations through the wisdom the Lord had granted him. Walking through the palace corridors, he sought counsel from the elders of Israel, gathering them within the great hall. There was a solemnity in the air, for they understood the significance of the gathering. The Queen's visit was more than a mere exchange of knowledge. It was a divine appointment. Solomon addressed the assembly, "Come and listen, O men of Israel. God has bestowed upon me wisdom, not for my own gain, but for the enlightenment of all who seek his face." As the elders leaned forward, he continued, "The Queen of the South shall rise up in judgment against this generation. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here." Matthew 12 verse 42. These words echoed in the hall, reverberating with a prophetic intensity that stirred the hearts of the gathered men. Then, in a moment of inspiration, Solomon sought the scrolls that contained the words of the preacher. He began to read aloud from the great wisdom he had penned. "To everything, there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1. The room fell silent, each man contemplating the depth of these sayings. They understood that wisdom was not merely about knowledge, but about the application of truth within the framework of divine timing. Among the elders was a scribe named Ahijah, known for his understanding of the scriptures. He stood, his voice trembling with reverence, "Your Majesty, how may we translate this wisdom into action? How do we guide our people in righteousness?" In response, Solomon exclaimed, "By embracing the fear of the Lord, for this is the beginning of wisdom." Proverbs 1 verse 7. The men nodded solemnly, knowing they must turn their hearts back toward God, to seek his counsel earnestly, lest they fall into the vanity that had spread throughout the land. Days passed, and the wisdom of Solomon began sowing seeds of hope throughout the kingdom. The people gathered, eager to learn, to witness the palpable change that wisdom brought forth. Yet, even as the rivers of understanding flowed, dark clouds formed in the distance. Whispers of discontent arose among those who thrived on deception and folly, seeking to thwart the work initiated by the Queen's commitment and Solomon's fervor. One night, as Solomon prepared to rest, a vision passed before him, a multitude of people walking in darkness, each carrying heavy burdens. He prayed earnestly, beseeching the Lord for insight, his spirit yearning to understand the plight of his people. In that sacred moment, the divine answer settled upon him. "Teach them to walk in truth, for the borders of the righteous shall be extended." Psalm 119 verse 32. With renewed vigor, Solomon understood his task. He must not only share wisdom but inspire action, transform the hearts of the people so they might turn to the Lord with all their might. As he prepared to deliver this message, he felt the impending weight of trials ahead. What fierce opposition might arise? What challenges would they face as wisdom collided with the stubborn hearts of men? The promise of God echoed within him, stirring a change not just among the Israelites, but perhaps for nations far and wide. Yet, in the corners of Solomon's mind loomed an unsettling mystery. What could behold the culmination of such greatness turned to folly? What hidden adversaries would seek to snuff out the light of truth buoyed by their covenant? The path ahead lay shrouded, filled with both divine revelation and inevitable trials, as God's sovereign plan prepared to unfold its tapestry in ways yet unimagined. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows over the city of Jerusalem, Solomon's heart grew heavy with the weight of the responsibilities that lay before him. He gathered the people to the great courtyard of the temple, where the sacred presence of the Lord dwelt. The throng of faces before him reflected hope, curiosity, and unspoken burdens. Raising his voice against the encroaching darkness, he proclaimed, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord has called us to be a light among the nations. Let us turn from the shadows of our ways and embrace the path of wisdom." His words were like fire. They ignited in the hearts of many. Yet, among the assembly, deceitful whisperings stirred as men who flourished in folly plotted in their hearts to undermine the truth. In the days that followed, Solomon walked amongst his people, teaching them the truth of God's statutes. He spoke with authority about justice and mercy, echoing the words of the prophet Micah. "What doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God?" Micah 6 verse 8. Those who had gathered hung on his every word, recognizing the transformation that wisdom could bring to their lives. But with every step toward righteousness, opposition grew bolder. A council of the deceitful gathered, their minds twisted by envy and malice. Their leader, a man of influence named Jeroboam, conspired to undermine Solomon's teachings, seeking to sow discord among the people. "If we can discredit the king," he said to his followers, "the people will return to their former ways, and the wisdom of Solomon shall be rendered powerless." As whispers of discontent echoed through the streets, Solomon felt the heavy shadows encroach upon the light of truth. He sought solitude within the temple, praying fervently for the wisdom to face the rising storm. "Lord," he cried, "show me how to guide this people whom you love. Grant me the strength to lead them in your ways, that the heart of this kingdom may not be turned to folly." It was in this devout moment of longing that the Lord spoke to Solomon through the stillness of the sanctuary. "Fear not, for I am with you. The hearts of many may stray, yet my covenant shall prevail. I will raise up a remnant in Israel who will cling to my word and seek my face." Reinvigorated, Solomon emerged from the sanctuary, his countenance reflecting a newfound resolve. He returned to the gathered masses, raising his hands and declaring, "Though darkness surrounds us, let the steadfast love of the Lord be our song. For his mercies endure forever, and those who trust in him shall not be shaken." His declaration resonated deeply within the hearts of the multitude, igniting a passion for righteousness among the faithful. Yet, among the dissenters, the seeds of discord had already begun to germinate. As Jeroboam vexed the people with cunning words, the ranks of the disillusioned began to swell, challenging the wisdom that Solomon had endeavored to impart. In the quiet hours of the night, Solomon stood upon his balcony, gazing out over the city with a heavy heart. A question arose within him like a fire ember. How can light persist when the world seeks to extinguish it? It was then that the Spirit whispered into his soul with a clarity he could not ignore. A greater light will arise, one that shall shine in the deepest darkness. The promise unfurled before him like a scroll unsealed, revealing a divine mystery. For the day shall come when a greater wisdom shall be revealed, and all who look to him will not fail. With this truth etched in his heart, Solomon felt the horizon shift. The battle was not simply against earthly powers, but against the very essence of a heart turned toward its own understanding. Thus, he resolved to prepare his people not merely for the trials ahead, but for the glory that God would reveal, an assurance of his sovereign plan, woven into the very fabric of their lives. What awaited them in this redemption of wisdom? Would their hearts be turned back to their God, or would they fall into the clutches of folly? Only time would unveil the tapestry of divine destiny. As dawn broke over Jerusalem, the city stirred with life, yet the weight of Solomon's burden hung heavily in the air. The cries of the merchants and the laughter of children were mingled with whisperings of discontent. Solomon, mindful of the growing discord, gathered his advisers and elders in the inner court of the temple, where the Ark of the Covenant stood. He sought counsel, but even in the presence of wise men, uncertainty loomed. "Gather the people," he instructed, his voice steady yet somber. "Let us reconvene in the temple to seek the counsel of our God, for we cannot afford to walk in our own understanding." As the assembly gathered, the atmosphere thickened with expectation. Solomon faced the crowd, keenly aware of the eyes that gleamed with hope and fear alike. "O Israel," he began, "the path of wisdom is fraught with peril, yet it leads to life. Let us not be swayed by the whispers of folly, but commit ourselves to the Lord our God, who desires our heart and our obedience." But even as he spoke, Jeroboam and his conspirators hovered at the fringes, their plots now entwined with the hearts of those they had deceived. Jeroboam's voice rang out amidst the crowd, mocking Solomon's call for unity. "Does the king think us foolish? Will we forsake our ancestors for a mere promise? Is our loyalty to be held captive by the whims of a king?" Rebuke filled Solomon's heart as he turned to Jeroboam. "Your words lead to ruin, for the Lord says, 'A house divided against itself cannot stand.' Turn back to the wisdom of our forefathers, lest you fall into the pit you have dug." Yet the murmurs grew louder as shadows of doubt crept into the hearts of the people. The faithful began to waver, questioning if Solomon's wisdom could truly withstand the tempest of rebellion. In that crucial moment, Solomon lifted his hands toward heaven, invoking the promise of God's presence. "O Lord, grant me your wisdom and strength. Reveal your glory, that all may know we are a people under your dominion." As he prayed, a hush fell over the assembly. The air crackled with divine tension, and the winds seemed to shift. The Spirit of the Lord enveloped Solomon, and he uttered a profound truth that resonated through the temple. "The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but time and chance happen to them all." Ecclesiastes 9 verse 11. In this cryptic declaration, he revealed a deeper understanding. Wisdom, not might, would lead them through. The crowd felt the weight of his words. In their hearts, fear transmuted into hope. The wisdom of God seemed not merely to be an abstract ideal but a living truth that bound them together. Yet Jeroboam, seeing the tide turning, intensified his efforts, weaving lies among the throng. "The king is but a man," he rallied, "and his wisdom is just as fragile as our own understandings. Do not be fooled. We can chart our destinies. The tension between the king and the rebels simmered, each day bringing it to a boiling point. As word of Jeroboam's defiance spread, many began to lean toward his false promises, believing they could create a better path without God's guidance. Solomon withdrew to the sanctuary once more, pouring out his heart. Lord, what more must I do? How do I reclaim the hearts of your people? The weight of their rebellion is heavy upon me. In this sacred sanctum, the Lord spoke once again, promising that a greater plan was in motion. Fear not, my son, for my hand has not been withdrawn from your kingdom. I shall raise a standard against the foe. For through trial, a vessel shall be formed, and hearts shall be turned. With courage rekindled, Solomon returned to the people, ready to illuminate their blind paths with the light of truth, challenging them to decide. Would they uphold the wisdom of the eternal or succumb to the fleeting allure of folly? And so, the stage was set for a revelation that would not only redefine a nation but echo throughout generations, a divine orchestrated plan unfurling, waiting for the moment when hearts would recognize the greater light yet to come. Would they embrace the wisdom that leads to life or turn away into darkness, ignorant of the promise awaiting them? Only time would reveal the fullness of God's sovereign design. As the sun ascended higher into the sky, a solemn stillness enveloped the gathered assembly. Solomon stood, his heart heavy with the weight of uncertainty, yet emboldened by the whisper of divine assurance. He called upon the people, "Let us draw near in prayer and supplication. For it is not a mere man that we seek, but the living God who has walked with our fathers." In the very sacred space where the glory of the Lord had once descended, the people began to quiet their hearts. Solomon, with fervor unleashing from his soul, cried out, "O God of our fathers, we remember your mercies and the covenant made with our ancestors. Speak to your servant. Direct this errant heart of ours back to the path of righteousness." A breeze stirred among the assembled, and it felt as though the Spirit of the Lord moved among them, igniting a flicker of hope in the hearts of the wavering. The murmurs of dissent faded, replaced by a solemn reverence. "O Israel," Solomon continued, "it is written, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Proverbs 9 verse 10. Will we not return to him, our steadfast rock? Yet, from the shadows lurked Jeroboam, a serpent weaving through the grass. "Choose your king wisely," he mocked, his voice a venomous hiss. "What wisdom has he brought but chains and burdens? Remember the yoke of your fathers." The crowd, wavering as though caught in a tempest, murmured in discontent. The very air hung thick with anticipation, the outcome balanced like a feather in the wind. Solomon met Jeroboam's gaze, unyielding. "You speak of burdens, but do you not see? The true bond is not one of chains, but of love and covenant." In that moment, a flicker of divine insight graced Solomon's heart, and he proclaimed, "Our strength shall not lie in numbers or shouts, but in unity and trust." He turned to the people, his hands raised, palms open to the heavens. "Let us remember the words of the prophet. For I know the plans I have for you." Jeremiah 29 verse 11. Are we to forsake his plan for the fleeting promises of men? As the words flowed, a wave of conviction swept through the assembly. Many began to feel the weight of their disobedience, hearts touched by the earnest appeal of their king. Solomon, perceiving the shift, seized the moment to speak deeper truth. "Beware, for you are caught in a snare of deception crafted by one who seeks to lead you astray." Could it be that this very division is the work of the adversary? Jeroboam, now visibly anxious, increased his fervor, desperate to hold sway. What if his wisdom fails? What if our loyalty to him leads us to ruin? Yet Solomon, with unwavering faith, challenged the crowd again. "Our assurance lies not in man's wisdom, but in the eternal promise of God. Can we not trust in the one who has guided our ancestors through the wilderness and into the land of milk and honey?" The tension reached its zenith, and the cries of the people echoed against the stone walls of the temple. "Choose, O Israel, will you stand united under the shadow of the Almighty, or will you fracture into divisions that lead to despair?" And suddenly, amidst the clamor, a stirring within the assembly began to emerge. There were those whose voices rose, proclaiming allegiance to the Lord's wisdom, acknowledging past mistakes, and turning back to the ever-faithful God. As they gathered their resolve, the Lord spoke to Solomon once more. The hearts of the people are turning toward me, for they seek hope amid confusion. Record these moments of their awakening, for a prophetic sign shall emerge. Great will be the turning of hearts in the days to come. With renewed strength surging through him, Solomon articulated a divine truth. The Lord God will not abandon his people. Even in trial, he prepares a way for those who seek him. And so it was that, as the flickering shadows danced upon the temple walls, a profound revelation loomed on the horizon, heralding a destiny that would reshape the very fabric of a nation. What transformation awaited as the people of Israel stood upon the threshold of divine revelation? For the sands of time were shifting, and the echoes of a divine promise resonated through the ages, whispering, "Behold, you shall see the great and marvelous works of the Lord." As the hearts of the congregation stirred, the atmosphere seemed electrified with divine expectancy. The elders of Israel, those guardians of memory and tradition, felt a compulsion to unite under the banner of the living God. They were compelled to remind the people of their history, to tell of how the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had delivered them from the bondage of Egypt and led them to the promised land. "Behold," announced one of the elders, his voice echoing through the assembly, "our God has been faithful to generations past. Will he not be faithful to us as well? He has made covenant with us, even in our greatest failings." At that moment of remembrance, a silhouette emerged from the back of the crowd. It was Ahijah the Shilonite, the prophet who had once foretold the division of the kingdom to Jeroboam. As he stepped forward, his presence radiated authority and the assembly quieted, the air thick with anticipation. "Listen, O Israel," Ahijah proclaimed, his voice like thunder on the mountain. "There shall be a great division among you, for the Lord has decreed it. Yet within this decree lies a promise. I will preserve a remnant, that they may seek me in truth and spirit." Solomon's heart sank, for he understood the gravity of the prophetess' words. The weight of this revelation pressed upon him, and he stepped forward to face Ahijah. How shall we respond to this prophetic destiny? Shall we embrace the path of unity, or be led astray by the voices of division? His voice trembled, a mixture of fear and fervor. Ahijah's eyes pierced through the tumult. "Your wisdom shall be tested, O king. Take heed of the ways of your heart. The same God who delivered you from slavery has the power to save you again, even from your own choices." With a heart aflame, Solomon turned to the people. "Shall we not stand firm upon the foundation of our covenant? For it is written, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves, and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land." 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14. The assembly began to resonate with fervent agreement, voices rising in prayer and worship. The Spirit of the Lord swept through the congregation, igniting hearts in proclamation to return to faithfulness. Yet Jeroboam, aware of the growing tide, seized the moment. What advantage is there in humility? Are we to sacrifice our strength for the feeble? Shall we not follow the path leading our people to greatness? His words fell like fire upon the ears of some, igniting the spark of rebellion. A division was imminent, and it sparked a turmoil within the heart of the people. Solomon, keenly aware of the peril, continued, "The Lord desires our unity, but we must lay down pride. For pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." Proverbs 16 verse 18. Will we forsake the God who has walked with us? A hush fell over the crowd as faces turned from Jeroboam to their king. In that sacred moment of decision, uncertainty lingered like a shadow. The Lord, however, was not finished. "Fear not, Solomon." The voice of the Lord stirred in the depths of his spirit anew. "For a great revelation is upon you. Through this division, I shall bring forth my plan of redemption. A greater wisdom shall rise from the ashes, a wisdom that shall be like a fountain of life to my people." With renewed vigor, Solomon declared, "Let us not choose the path of division. Let us write our story anew in faithfulness. For it is with humble hearts that we shall behold the wonders of the Lord, even through trials to come. And so, the people stood at a crossroads, enveloped in divine promise and human strife. What further mysteries lay ahead as the Lord unveiled the threads of his sovereign plan? A word yet unspoken hung in the air, for the path to redemption had only just begun to be revealed. As the dawn broke over the ancient city of Jerusalem, casting brilliant rays of light upon the temple, a frail but resolute Solomon stood at the threshold, determined to fulfill the calling the Lord had placed upon him. The tumult of recent days weighed heavy on his heart, yet amid uncertainty, he sensed a profound stirring, a rhythm of divine purpose pulsing through the fabric of time. Gathering the elders and people once more in the sacred assembly, Solomon proclaimed, "O Israel, hear the words of the preacher. In the day of prosperity, be joyful, and in the day of adversity, consider Ecclesiastes 7 verse 14. Let us remember the lessons gleaned from the past and forge a path towards unity anchored in faith." The crowd shifted, a multitude of faces reflecting every shade of emotion: fear, skepticism, and an underlying glimmer of hope. Among them was Ahijah, whose prophetic insight had already unveiled glimpses of the trials to come. Solomon's spirit surged as he sought not merely the allegiance of the people but their hearts, yearning for a communal awakening. "Fear not the trials that rest before us," he continued, his voice rising with authority. "For the Lord has promised that he will never leave nor forsake us. Even when rebellion stirs, his grace is sufficient." The gathered assembly, roiling in uncertainty, began to resonate with the power of his words, their hearts quickened and spirits fluttering. Silence fell, broken only by the rustle of garments and the gentle whispers of encouragement from the faithful. In that sacred stillness, Solomon sensed the breath of God fill the atmosphere, enveloping the gathering in divine anticipation. "Together, we must return unto the Lord with one heart," he urged, "for it is the unity of our faith that will shield us against the folly that beckons." Yet as he spoke, a figure emerged from the shadows of the crowd. Jeroboam, emboldened by his scheming and the whispers of dissent, stepped forward. "What will this unity gain us?" he sneered, grasping at the hearts of those still swayed by doubt. "Will we be mere slaves to promises? Shall we cling to chains while others seek greatness?" A palpable tension hung in the air as Solomon's heart quickened. Greatness lies not in human ambition, Jeroboam, but in aligning ourselves with the will of our Creator. He called out with unwavering resolve. To follow the allure of the world alone is to tread a path toward destruction. Our God seeks not mere obedience but a relationship forged in love and fidelity. Do we not remember the covenant thrust upon us, one of hope and redemption? At that, the faces of the congregation began to shift, a wave of recognition sparking within them. Eyes flickered in memory of how the Lord had delivered their ancestors, leading them through wilderness and adversity into promise. Let us be steadfast. Let us follow the one who holds our fates in his hand. Solomon's heart leapt as the people started to murmur in agreement. Yet the battle wasn't over. Jeroboam, sensing his grip loosening, rallied his loyalists, his eyes burning with fierce determination. He twisted the narrative. Is it wise to follow a king who embraces weakness over strength? We must seize control of our destiny, return to our rightful power. Seizing the moment, Solomon pressed forth, sensing the time had come for divine revelation. Remember the promise delivered by the Lord. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. His voice rang clear, reverberating against the temple walls, weaving faith back into the hearts of the people. With resolute commitment, those once tied to Jeroboam's deceit began to step towards Solomon, choosing faith over fear. We will not abandon the God who brought us out of darkness, they declared together, voices lifted as one. And it was then that divine providence unveiled itself. An unexplainable peace swept through the assembly like a mighty river, splashing over hearts burdened with doubt. Solomon eyed the people, emboldened by the unity forged in that moment, sensing the remnant of faith rising ready to embrace the call of the Lord. Let this day mark the beginning of a new chapter, a restoration to the heart of true worship, he proclaimed. Let us once more become a people who honor our covenant to God, embracing both his wisdom and his ways. As the people shouted in response, a realization ignited within Solomon's heart. The fate of his kingdom, the essence of God's sovereign plan, was not rooted in his wisdom alone, but in the collective heart of the people unified in devotion to God. In that powerful moment, the winds of divine clarity blew through the assembly, affirming their path. Jeroboam, realizing the weight of his rebellion dwindling with each heartbeat of faith, withdrew into the shadows, plotting still in the corners of his heart. But the battle today belonged to the faithful, a testament of God's unchanging promise. A dawning hope that echoed not just in Jerusalem but reverberated through ages to come. As the sun began to set over the city, its golden light illuminated the temple, a radiance signifying both divine favor and covenant anew. Solomon knelt in the sanctuary, tears rolling down his cheeks, a king humbled by the great love of his God, whispering prayers of gratitude. His heart, once restless, now resonated with peace. The vibrant tapestry of God's plan was beginning to unfold before his eyes. Friends, let us embrace that same hope today. The journey of wisdom, unity, and divine purpose does not conclude here. If you feel stirred by this message, subscribe immediately to the channel so you do not miss the next powerful biblical stories that can elevate your faith. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm. Comment below with your spiritual reflections and how this divine encounter impacted your life. And remember, this is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Share instantly this story with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. For only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content to reach more souls for Christ. Do not wait even one more second. The legacy of faith is built in moments like this. Will you join the mission today?